Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Everyone. Hello.
Welcome.
Good day.
Good day. Ooh, it's cold, dude. What the hell?
Good day. It's a little chilly.
I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but I'm toasty right now. I'm a very comfortable.
You feel pretty good,
I
dude.
don't
I
know.
didn't dress for this.
I
I dressed for the
you
occasion.
got a good you got good facial hair. It'll keep you warm enough. I got you ever have a laptop that does not get rid of its heat very very efficiently?
Oh yeah.
Oh, there
yeah,
Yeah, that's how I'm
like
staying
the
warm.
early MacBooks.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're lap warmers. So I'm good.
I just boot up a test was it a test bench for computers?
Yeah.
It starts heating up the room real quick.
Use for your heater.
It's
Just some
Steel.
old laptops.
Who's that?
It's Steel. He's finally back, dude.
Hey,
Hey, hello.
it's funny that we're making the he's back podcast, but I've been back for 2 years, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
You have.
Yeah.
You've definitely,
Yeah,
you've definitely
that
been
is
here.
true.
It's
But
true.
grand scheme of things, it's been a long time. So
It has, dude.
It has. I don't know if
Yeah,
most
it's-
people
it's
in
been
the
a
general
while.
audience are aware that you're even back. Because you haven't released a full animation yet, right?
yeah, you're right. I guess I have been posting a lot on Twitter, but even then, it's still not super consistent there. But yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's great to have you back, man. I think we're all excited to have you on and see what great stories you have to share for us today.
Yeah, that sounds good.
On
but-
this episode 17.
Oh, it's episode 17. You know what that means?
Dude, the
Huh.
curse is about to be lifted. Right?
wait.
yeah,
is this the
isn't that-
Animacast thing?
Yeah, didn't we reach Animacast's episode of 17? Was that the max episode of Animacast?
Oh god, I think it might have been in the 20s. Let me check.
Oh, dang it.
Oh,
I
no
thought we
way.
were
Okay, we
tying
stopped.
the world record for number of podcast
Yeah,
episodes.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
For those who are unaware, Animacast is my old podcast before reviving Dojocast. Yeah, we got to what was this episode? Oh no, we're tied with Animacast as of this episode.
Hey, I knew it.
Oh,
I knew it.
You heard it
All
here
right,
first.
Oh,
We're one episode away from breaking the world record of podcast episode. This brand new
The
format.
the
regarding
Dojo
stick figure
record.
animation.
Yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
no, we can leave that really small font way
Yeah,
down at the
it's-
bottom of the page in the asterisk section.
Don't read the fine print.
Don't read the fine print. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. All right.
That's
well,
cool.
we have an announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And this actually has to do with Steel because he's actually releasing a new animation tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah. It's called. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it and what's it about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so the history of it is that when Gilded Guy made his animation with Andre, I was really inspired by that. Just Andre as a character is really cool, and I thought that he was very well portrayed as well in the animation, and it sort of just got me really inspired about RHG in general. And I had sort of been floating this idea around that I would just use characters kind of like Gilded Guy does. He creates his own bespoke storyline using whatever characters really fits what he wants to do with them. So yeah, I had this idea that I would make, my own thing like that. And so the first episode in this series, if you will, is Biden versus Andre. So yeah,
Oh man,
Ooh.
I remember Biden.
Yeah.
Where
I know him.
is he from? I don't think a lot of people know Biden.
yeah, I think because he's one of the I don't know how you would describe it. How you have tier celebrities and B, is it B list? He's
Yeah.
if you studied RHG, you'd probably know him. I bet people that are really into it know who he is. But
Yeah.
so I kind of wanted to celebrate older characters like that from that time period.
Yeah, I don't think
So,
I heard
yeah.
of Biden until I believe it was RHG Legacy 1. Full episode about
Mm,
Amazon.
yeah. Right. Yeah. And then also Biden and I back in the community in 2008, we were really good friends then too. So I actually got back in contact with him. He produces music now under the name Daycatcher. and I got to use a song that he created for the credits in this animation. So yeah.
Oh, you should link his music stuff, and then we'll put it in the description after.
Here,
the
let me go.
podcast.
Okay, yeah, or yeah. Let me not distract myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll find it afterward.
But you do have an exclusive trailer to show, right?
It's an exclusive teaser. It's like the first minute of the animation. I've been using DaVinci Resolve. I just went in there, took like the first minute or something, and just like cut it. So yeah, we can watch that. And so this comes out tomorrow, like the full thing. It's about 12 minutes long of animation. Then with the credits, it's 14. So.
Oh my gosh! So this is
pretty good ratio.
Yeah, it's a full project.
Very ambitious. I like it.
I'm like, it came out. I'm so happy. You know, I hired people to help me. So Donnie Boots helped me. The Siver helped me. Tokarev helped me.
Yo.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been a really awesome experience, and yeah, I'm really glad that I got to put this all together. So yeah.
All right. Well, let me
let's
stop the wind real quick.
Yes.
Do that.
All right, here we go. Oh wait, hang on, it's muted. One second.
Turn on video wind. There we go.
Oh yeah, and then there should be music and sounds with this too. So my cousin, when we get into like why I started animating, he did a lot of the music for this animation too, and I hired voice actors. So
Yo.
yeah, I don't know. Can we hear this? I can't hear it.
Yeah.
But
I can hear.
I'll check to see if my stream's muted on your end.
Because I hear it on this end.
Steel Anim presents.
He's surfing.
He's so fucking sick, dude.
He's surfing.
Oh my god! It's him!
Oh.
Voice.
Yay! The bullet time.
Wow.
Oh damn! I'm just gonna leave.
if you recognize Stickley's Run, the silly run,
I was about to say that, but I refrained.
I was gonna say.
I noticed. I didn't want to say it.
and that's it.
Oh my
Come on.
Crazy part is he could have just opened the door, but he's like, "What's a better way to open this door?"
Yeah, just kick it open.
That's
There's
sick,
no way that
though.
was a minute.
Alright.
That was that felt like 10
Okay.
seconds.
Yeah, there's no way that was 12 minutes long.
Quite a chunk of it was just intro credits.
Yeah, like the
Sure.
character intros and
I
stuff.
love
You
the
know, like
setup, yeah.
because something that I kind of noticed as I was making this animation, one is that people were getting Steel and Bident as characters confused because they're both blue. And then also people were like, oh, what's Steel's power? And I'm like, okay, let me just like make really clean, intros that can also serve as like hype pieces for the animation.
Yeah.
So I kind of put those all in the beginning. And then, then there's that piece where Steel's breaking into a building. And yeah, so I kind of have like a story that goes along with it too, but
I like that a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, awesome, man.
Also, shout out, that was
so-
Holy Junkie that did the voice acting for the like the henchman guy.
He's great,
So,
dude.
yeah, really
Oh
good.
yeah, that was funny.
I still to this day because he did Gorn for my first release for Andre's Arena, and I had to hear that first part of him saying that like 1,000 times. So periodically, I'll just out of nowhere, Gorn.
Oh wait, that was.
That's Holy Junkie too.
Oh my gosh, that's.
I'm just gonna say this shot made me a little nervous.
I had flashbacks a little bit.
Yeah. Also, so the bullet time scene actually that was inspired by Jay Camello or Jay Ciamolo. I don't know how you say his name. Do you remember him?
No
still?
one knows. No one knows,
Mello.
dude.
Okay,
Mello,
so
Mello.
yeah, so that scene right there, that's from
Uh-huh.
JC Mania 2. When JC enters, there's a very similar-ish scene in that animation, and I was inspired by that, so I sort of did a tribute to that scene in there.
I like that.
Yeah, there's a few other tributes that I did throughout the animation.
Did Mr. Stinder peek his head in the beginning, or am I? Go back to the beginning when he blasts in. You'll see all right side, right.
Yeah, it's when Steel throws them up into the ceiling. You'll see Cinder on the right.
Oh, I completely missed that. That's so.
Watch.
I see.
Watch.
Oh,
Hello!
yeah.
There he is. Yeah.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Interesting.
That's so funny.
It's got Easter eggs
Well,
already, dude.
Yeah, this the full animation is premiering on your channel, correct?
Yeah, on my channel, yeah. And then I want to have it on Hyun's dojo too, if we can do that.
Awesome.
No, we
Yeah.
can't. Sorry.
We know
Oh,
a guy. We know a guy.
no.
We'll
Yeah, we know. Yeah, we got some connections. We got you.
hook that up.
But yeah, the link to watch the animation premiere is in the description, you guys. So go there and queue up and grab your popcorn.
Yeah.
Animation tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, and trust whatever the YouTube saying
Sorry,
that
go
it'll be on, because I don't do daylight savings time. I didn't realize that daylight savings time is tomorrow, so that may throw off.
Wait, it is?
Yeah, it is tomorrow.
Oh
But-
dear. Okay.
Yeah, they don't do it in Arizona, so I don't think about it. You know, I just like Sunday is
Oh,
great.
that's weird.
Yeah.
It messes everything up for me. It's so stressful when that happens.
When it goes back, when we're getting an hour, I don't care. It's fun for me. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that part. So,
Well,
anywho,
yeah, that was awesome, Steel. So, yeah, that's for people that don't know Steely, I think that was a good intro for him, and how much you've evolved throughout the years, because been animating for a very long time now, right, Steel?
Yeah.
So, like, the people who don't really know who Steel is, what were you kind of known for back in the community, and you kind of want to walk us through the beginning days of how you started?
Yeah, let's see. So I guess like the very beginning. So I started animating in December of 2006. I know because I was going through an old hard drive for this. And I believe I started because of Failed Containment was by Turquoise, and also
no way. No, okay,
That's
hold
so
on.
old.
I was okay, that's crazy. Because for no reason at all, I was singing that today. Like, we went to a
Really?
soccer park, and I was singing that song from Failed Containment, and Lexi was like, "Why are you singing that?" I was like, "It's Failed Containment." So why?
Yeah.
I don't. So you threw that in my brain. Anyways,
Dude, yeah, that's
Weird.
crazy. Yeah, so it was Failed Containment, and then JC Amala had Black and White 2, and then also Tekken versus Stone. Like those three, it
Yeah.
kind of
Wow.
like they built up on each other, and I was like, okay, I have to try this now. And my cousin, he's El Burrito. Stone will know who that is.
I do know that name.
Yeah, so he was animating a bit before me, because I think, we had kind of had watching stick figures as a hobby, like even in 2004. Like, if you guys know Frozen Phoenix, his Year's Progress animation.
Yes.
Yeah. So like I lurked in like 2004 in like Stick Slaughter, I think was the community at that time. So it was kind of just like something that I knew in my peripheral, and then it was like end of 2006. I saw those three animations, and I was like, all right, I have to do this, And so at that point, Burrito, I think he had been animating for maybe 6 months or maybe a little bit more at that point. And also, out of everyone in kind of my family that I was growing up with, he was always like the most artistic, creative person. So he kind of, I feel like he always kind of knew a little bit more than I did with animation, whether he used those to make larger projects or not. He was just always more like artistically inclined. But yeah, so he helped me learn actually in the beginning. So yeah, this animation that you have up here, Atena, I think, yeah, so this animation I believe was 2007. This would have been the first animation that I showed Burrito, where I was like, hey, can I post this online now? And he was like, yeah, this is good enough. You can post it. Like, it's not completely terrible,
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good enough for
So
the internet
funny.
space. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because, oh yeah, so Hamstring actually noted El Burrito is from Comeback Collab 2. That's him.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm pretty sure that's the same burrito. I know.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh.
Dang.
But yeah, so I joined Stick Figure Death Theater, SFDT, and I joined that because Fluid Anim seemed like you had to be better to be in it for whatever reason. I don't know why I felt like that, but it felt like the better animators were at Fluid Anim, so if you posted there, you kind of had to be good. But at Stick Figure Death Theater, you could be whatever, you can just post stuff. And I think Matt Calvert was the guy that ran it.
Yep.
Yeah. And like, I remember getting onto the front page of Stick Figure Death Theater when I had first started. That was like my dream. And then, I started getting on the front page because, as you practice, you get better. You start, Matt Calvert would notice and post stuff, and you're like, wow, that's so cool. And then also, Newgrounds. I didn't go on Newgrounds either because I felt like that was another place where I was like, oh, well, you have to be good to be on Newgrounds. But yeah.
You don't want to get blammed off Newgrounds.
Yeah,
It's
right.
the ultimate punishment.
Right, yeah, and also there was like a huge stigma against stick figures on Newgrounds unless you were
they
really
hated
good.
stick figures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hated
So
that.
bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It was like
It's-
I remember even Turquoise's Shock 1, there's like so many comments that are like, this is pretty good, despite it being a stick figure animation. You should not do stick figures, blah, blah, blah. It's like...
Yeah. Every other
Yeah.
comment, dude. Every other comment was like that. It's like, this could be so good if it wasn't stick figures. That's all it was the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because,
that stigma's still kind of present. I saw like I know it's Twitter, but I saw a Twitter thread where some people were arguing about indie animation and stick figures not getting enough spotlight, and someone was like, well, maybe do something other than stick figures.
Right.
But that's not the point.
Yeah, that was their take. That was always their take.
I think it was stronger back then because a lot of stick animations did make it to like the top 100 list, on Newgrounds.
Uh-huh.
And I just think a lot of people like on Newgrounds didn't think that was deserved because we were, getting front pages and stuff, and people were like, "Oh man, why is it stick figure animation?"
Yeah, they hated it. They hated it really bad.
Yeah. Oh, so this one that you're showing right now, Hatena, this is my first animation I ever made. I found it.
Oh, wow.
That's actually really impressive. That's really good.
December
Mine was
20th.
really, really bad. That's way better.
Yeah, it was like you can tell how I didn't quite know how to use symbols or anything, and I was copying every frame and just kind of erasing and editing with the line
you were
tool.
collecting the
That's what I did too.
nibs of the brush of the line tool in the circles and just taking them over.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I probably before this would have done animation on flip notes, like sticky notepads as well.
Yeah.
This was my first time doing online, animation.
Got me so excited
That's
for a brief
awesome.
moment.
Yeah.
Talk about
I didn't have that
about
little
flipping
2006
notes,
flip notes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, and like what's crazy is that like the workflow that I invented for myself with that animation is insane. Like, I don't think anyone would start Flash at this point with how many resources there are now to learn. Like, you would never start with this. Maybe you would, I don't know, but I feel like there's a lot better places to start than where I did, but yeah.
Well, there's also a lot more beginner-friendly applications that even have like either free trials or they're just free to start.
Yeah, the floor is a
Getting
lot
your
higher.
hands on
Yeah.
Flash is a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot more difficult, but it still is kind of difficult. So people
Yeah,
still
for
opt
sure.
for the
Also,
more free and open source
like-
programs.
Yeah, and like Alan Becker's animation versus animator, like that would be the only time that you would ever get to see what someone else using Flash looked like.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yep.
Because I didn't even think that was possible. I thought that was just real. I thought it was just like a real virus on a computer. But yeah, that's awesome. Not seeing all of your old stuff.
Yeah.
So,
So,
you were
like,
talking about being in the communities that you're in. So what was your first, like, best and worst experiences from each of like the main communities that you're in? Your SFTT, Fluid Anims. Were you in Shift Limits?
Yeah, I was in Shift Limit. So I think my timeline kind of goes like SFDT, then at some point I would have joined Fluid Anims because I felt like I was good enough, like maybe like middle of 2007. And then whenever Shift Limits started, that became my home. Also, there was just like way more active people that were actually animating because Stick Figure Death Theater, there was like the portal and then there was the forum. And people that were on the forum weren't animators. They were just random people almost. Or, maybe they animated for a little bit and then they were just like pure forums that had nothing to do with animation. It was kind of funny.
Yes.
So yeah, at some point I kind of sought out like, hey, I'm looking for a community of people, and also Stone, you were gone at that point.
Yeah, you were. That would have been the gap period. That's when Shift Limits was more. That's why Shift Limits really kind of existed. It's because that gap period. Like Fluid Items existed as far as like a .com was concerned, but I either like took the forums down or they were just completely vacant. One of the two.
Yeah, for sure.
Damn.
So, oh, good.
Oh, sorry, no, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. So we were talking about the good and bad experiences.
Yes.
So I mean, I think the good experiences were just like how cool it was to be talking with people that were doing something that you were doing. Because like, have you guys ever tried to like show real life friends your animations?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You just kind of get the like, oh, cool. Like.
Yes.
And like, I appreciate anyone that wants to watch my stuff, especially friends, that I would send them something, they take 10 minutes out of their day to watch something. Like, that's really cool. But at the same time, it's not the same as like if I send Stone something, Stone's going to be like, what? You did what?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Stone's
I mean,
a different breed, though.
Yeah,
True. I will freak out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just like being on Shift Limits, there was like the IRC back then, which was kind of like the Discord.
Yeah.
And also just being in a community of artists that were really specifically focused on the niche that you liked. Because even like I was in like drawings class in like junior high, and there's so many different niches within art that it's hard to even find people that like the same type of art that you like, let alone getting a community of artists, period. So yeah, it's just so cool how welcoming it felt, and how also you could create little like niches within the sub niche, like so.
Yeah, line versus brush. Like, that's not a thing in the real world when people see a stick figure animation. You're like, yeah, but he animates line. And they look at you like, what? What do you what? What do you mean? You're like, yeah, I can tell. He's not using brush. You're like, who cares? They're stick figures. You're like, oh, okay. It's like that sub niche within the niche.
Yeah, or even just like friend groups, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
Like within the IRC, it was like everybody was in the Shift Limits IRC. Then some people made like, oh, this specific group likes talking to each other. Oh, this drawing here, this is El Burrito drew this for me. So this is just kind of showing, how like my art wasn't, I was kind of lacking some fundamentals, but El Burrito always had this like, he had whatever it is, like he was good.
Right.
He just kind of had that, like he knew what he was doing, even from like the early days, it felt like. So
the drop shadow goes hard, because that would have been like the earliest phase of people figuring out how to do that. Because so what you had to do that for that drop shadow, it made it unique, is that people didn't realize you could like, you did everything in layers, right? So you do everything in layers, but then you could go back and reselect all the layers, copy, paste, make a new layer underneath that, and then Control B, break it all apart, and then it would make it one solid color, and then you just drop the opacity, and then you hold, you don't hold Shift, you hold, I think it was Alt in one of the corners, and then you can pull it down, and it'll stay where the pivot point you put up the dot, the orientation point was. And so when people figured that out, people are drop shadowing everything. So it's funny there's a drop shadow there, because that would have been like the very earliest curve of when people were like, oh my god! And they were like, you gotta do it for everything! The sun exists! There's light
I
sources!
did that all the time too when I first figured it out. Oh my
I
God.
know! See, it's like, that small thing is so funny, because like, that's such a small thing to even pick out at all. But to me, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, that would have been right around that time when people figured out drop shadow. That's so funny.
Yeah, so all of this stuff that we're showing now, I believe this is like 2007-ish. And so like that, I think the last animation that we showed, that would have been like my first attempt at making something long. Because, before, tests, and like it's kind of funny sorting back through old animations when everything's named unrusting. It's kind of hard to figure out what anything actually is.
Or test.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you just, like, I can see the date modified. You just animated a week ago. You're not unrusting. Stop calling the file unrusting.
Right. And so even looking at this animation here, I could tell that you were like Cicada and Mr. Asian Brush inspired, because there was a phase during Shift Limits where you didn't have, you would draw your head over every single frame like we're seeing right here, and with the kind of like longer legs and smaller torsos. It's a very similar style that kind of like popped up, and this is during that same period. So I gotta ask then, because then at that certain point, you were trying to like see the different people who were popular in those communities. So what was it like feeling outside of like the in crowd? Because you were seeing like, okay, all the people who are good at these websites. What was it like being perceived as outside of that crowd, and how did you like talk to some of these animators that you looked up to?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, I think it's weird. Like I always felt like you know how Hyun's Dojo has the ranks right now. Like I feel in the community like I'm just like perma a shinobi. Like always, always just good enough, but not quite like top tier. But like still like, hey, I can watch his stuff and like this is pretty cool. Like I always kind of felt like that skill level, and like everybody would increase in skill, and of course I left and whatnot, but it was always kind of like that. Yeah, like Cicada, that's funny. Like Cicada was one of the styles that I really tried to. It was one that I gravitated towards a lot. I don't really remember why. I mean, because his stuff was always really smooth.
Yep.
And I never, but that's not really why I like Cicada's style. I don't really like the hyper smooth stuff. To me, it doesn't hit like other people. Like like I think other people really appreciate smoothness more than I do. Also, like I animated in like 12 or 15 FPS for like
that was his thing was 18 FPS. I remember that.
Yeah.
He was like pioneering like 18 FPS is it, because there was this during that phase is when people were like, dude, you need to be 24 FPS, like straight up. And so anything below that was like almost seen as like stupid or offensive. It's like, no, 18 FPS is cool. And so then a bunch of people were like, yo, 18 FPS, because like they were getting more work done. It would still look smooth, but it was like, oh, I'm also not doing the cool thing that I'm struggling with, which is 24, because 24 also didn't feel good. 24 still doesn't feel good. It's so fast, okay?
Yeah.
Just gonna say it. 18 felt good for that exact reason. Fast enough to look smooth and slow enough that it was something you could actually go through quickly, and your brain can kind of break the frames down in those chunks a little bit easier.
Yeah, for sure. And like, so I did 15 actually, and I feel like because I was so stuck on 15, it made it hard for me to participate in collaborations. Because
That's exactly what I was saying. Everyone's gonna be like 24 FPS. You're like, I can't even do that. I can't double frame. It's not gonna look right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and also like, I feel like double framing wasn't even really a thing that people thought to do that much.
Yeah, not at all.
Or like the concept of thinking about something as a key, and then you have like 2s, 3s, and 4s. Like there's so much language now that we have associated with that sort of stuff. Also, funny thing, that skateboard one that you just had up, Patena.
Oh, yeah.
I added that one because this isn't really as much of a thing now, but having a cool avatar on the forums
I was gonna say,
meant a lot.
Dude, I was gonna say, you must have had that for a long time, because I remember that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I remember specifically that animated avatar.
Yeah, I think this was when I first joined Fluid Anims, and when I first joined Shift Limits, I had this avatar.
I definitely remember it.
Yeah. The other kind of funny thing is how I feel like skateboarding culture and stick figure animations used to be a lot more closely aligned. But now, like it used to be like Greg Anims, for example. Like he was really good at skateboarding stick figure animations. Like that's not a thing anymore as much, but
no.
Yeah, it's funny how those two cultures seem to be kind of close together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I made a ton of skateboarding flip books in textbooks. It was so cool back then. Just trying to rotate the skateboard and all that, like advanced stuff. It was really fun.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, so I guess anyone in the chat who's in like junior high or high school, is skateboarding still like? Would you consider that cool? Or because like I remember in junior high for me, skateboarding, like if you could skateboard, that was really cool to be able to do. And like there was like a group of people that would hang out and skateboard, and if you could hang out there and skateboard with them, you were cool. Like that was like the thing to do.
So it was just matching together the cool kid things.
Yeah. Oh, and then that was the first Steel animation that I did. The guy like ripping the other guy apart. This is the inception of Steel as a character.
Oh wow.
Oh my god.
He's blue.
Oh, I don't remember that animation.
Yeah. Dude, the blood on the ground too being added like as time goes on. That was another big phase too. Like blood splatter started initially with just one singular frame, and it would just be there, and it would just stay there. And then people were like, "Whoa, what if you like hit F6 a couple times, and then drew a couple more dots, and F6 a couple more times, and like to illustrate,
Yeah.
like the splatter, like it becoming more." Yeah, that was a whole phase too.
Yeah, for sure.
Blood on the walls too, like in the background.
Yep, blood on the walls, blood on the floor, but it's usually exactly.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
man,
I was inspired by Albino Zombie actually
Yes.
to do that sort of stuff.
Albino zombie.
Yep. He
Yeah.
was one of the people to kind of really pioneer that.
Yeah, and also just like tiny particles in general. Like I really looked up to Albino Zombie.
Yeah, those were probably
Yeah.
800. That was definitely 800% zoom particles.
Oh yeah,
I remember
absolutely.
that was a big thing too. Because remember, zoom was everything. You had to know brush size and zoom because they mattered, because it was, if you just had the brush size, it changes to based upon how far you're zooming in, as opposed to how Animate works now.
Yeah.
So everyone was
Yeah.
like, okay, if you're doing a collab part, there's certain, you need to know exactly the specifications. So it became clear what zoom people were going to be animating at for different effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. You know, something about this is a tangent. Brush sizes with this latest project I was working on. I've been reading a lot of manga lately. Like I've been reading all of One Piece, which has been quite a task. I'm like a third of the way through at this point. I've been reading like Chainsaw Man. I've been reading like My Hero Academia and stuff. And it was a puzzle that I was trying to figure out, but I was trying to determine, how does the mangaka or the person drawing the manga, how do they determine what level of detail to draw faces at? You know, like, because, you know, you'll see some characters will have faces that kind of look a little scribbled, but, you know, it's more or less there. And then, you know, some frames, they're just like super detailed. And I was trying to figure out, like, how do they decide what shape language is available to them at any point, or, you know, for any frame? And I guess the trick, or the answer to this is like a trick question. It's that when they're drawing, they have a pen physically, so they can't zoom. So whatever they can do with the pen, that's what they have to do.
Yep. The parameters are set.
Yeah. So once I figured that out, I stopped zooming in as much, because it's like,
Okay.
you know, like, unless you really need to, I'm mostly at like 100% zoom the whole time, or like even 80 sometimes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I see. Donnie does that too. I thought he was an absolute madman. I'm like watching him, and I'm like, all right, go ahead. Now he's in the zoom, and he doesn't. I'm like, oh, is this a storyboard? I'm like, oh, that's not a storyboard. What the hell's happening? What is going on? And then he plays it back, and it looks smooth. And they're like, no, you have to zoom to make it smooth, because that was the thing. You zoomed in because it it hid imperfections, and it made it look good. You know, that's why you did it. So yeah, that was it's an old habit you just officially broke. I've never broken it. I think I have to stay at 400%.
Wait.
Yeah, for sure.
So is that why in animes, when characters are like really far away, you don't even like see their face sometimes?
Yeah,
Yeah,
They
I
just
think
literally
why.
just can't zoom into the paper, right?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or like
Exactly
the pen. Yeah, like the pen nib is only so small, right? Like the physical thing that putting the ink on the paper, right?
That makes sense. That actually does make sense now.
Yeah.
To think of it. Yeah. So
Dude, paper sucks.
Yeah.
yes. Oh, so you've been in. So you did the fluid anim stuff for a while, and you kind of disappeared for a while, I think, right?
Yeah, so let's see. I would have been in Fluid Anims. I was in Stone's comeback collaboration. I think at that point, you know, like, yeah, I would have been in. I was in Stone's comeback collab. I mean, I definitely was. I was literally there. I think that was like 2008 February, something like that.
Well, you know the month? Damn.
Somewhere.
I mean, well, because
Yeah.
I was going back and doing files, so that was when the file was modified.
Okay.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there. And then I was animating a bunch. You know, I never made any like really big project though. I made a few. Like I have my Assassin's Creed tribute. I have my Battle versus Turquoise. I'm trying to think of like. I mean, those are like probably if you knew about me, that would be probably what you would have known is like either that I battled Turquoise, that I wasn't RHG at all, or that I had this Assassin's Creed tribute, I think.
Right.
Or it would have been because when you were new in the community, I helped out a lot of people. Like, I feel like that's maybe why people remember who I was, is because I kind of went out of my way to be nice and help people that were even like new or, anyone that had questions, I would try to like go out of my way to help them. Which it's kind of weird. Like, yeah, it's just like you never want to underestimate what being nice to people can do, because
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And you're super active back then too. Like, like I saw you chatting literally every single day. Along
Oh
with everyone
yeah.
else.
Yeah, like I was a moderator on Shift Limits. I was a moderator admin on Fluid Anims. Do you remember Stone?
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
and then yeah, so yeah, I was like, well known and like respected in the community. And yeah, I mostly attribute that to being nice and being helpful to people though. Like I don't think that I think I was pretty good back then, but yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
mostly because I was willing to like try to help people. Like people would post, "Hey, can I get some, CNC?" And I would try to, you're trying your best to like describe concepts that are really abstract to people on a forum where you can't even like post images, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, some people would just like, oh, my CNC is that you need more easing or whatever.
Yep. That's
And
the
it's like,
classic.
Yeah, dude.
yeah, and like I hated when people said that, because it's like, dude, this doesn't help anyone when you just say more easing. It's
Ease
like,
in and ease out better.
yeah. So, I would
think-
try to like figure out like, what does this person want to do? Like, what are they trying to communicate? How can I help them just a little bit, or, move them in the right direction? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to what I was trying to do back then. Because a lot of people, they were very, I don't know, like hubris in their animation skill. So like people wouldn't just be like, if they're better than you, they're like, they would kind of like show that, So,
Yeah.
but it's good that you kind of stuck around to help people back then. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people still remember you when you did come back.
Yeah, I think so too. Because it's like, I'm trying to think of like who would have been starting that I might have helped. I mean, I definitely helped Sereth a lot when he was beginning. If Sereth remembers.
Oh, no way, dude. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Like Sereth and I were both on SFDT, and I remember he didn't know about. It was either Shift Limits or Fluid Anims at the time, and I remember like I like added him on MSN, and I was like, dude, you should join Shift Limits. Like, there's this community of like animators and stuff, and yeah. So it's like I helped out Sereth, and I mean then Sereth became way better than me, whether he wants to admit it or not. But
Oh man, that's so fun.
yeah, Sereth used to call me Sensei. I remember that.
Dude, that's adorable. That's so.
Yeah.
God.
So like, what made you? I guess did just real life happen, and you just had kind of did other things for a while when you kind of fell off the community.
Yeah, it was going to college really. I remember.
that'll do it.
Yeah, it was like between going to college for animation or going in for engineering. And I remember I was talking to LF2, and I was asking him because he was a year older than me, and I think he was already in college. And I was like, LF2, like, how did you think about this? Like, I really think that maybe I could be an animator, but I don't really feel like it's a career necessarily. Like it's just something that I really like doing. I can spend hours animating.
Yeah.
And I think LF2, he said something like, well, if you become an engineer, then you can afford your hobby, and then it's a hobby. But if you're like an
Yeah.
artist, then it becomes your job, and maybe you won't like it as much. Something like that.
Oh my God, he's
Yeah.
so
For
real.
wise, dude. Why is he so wise?
Dude, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean,
Stroking his beard.
yeah, like I think he doesn't even remember saying that to me, but it definitely, I remember that. I remember him telling me that, and I went to school for engineering. So yeah, I think with going into school, I mean, first of all, just going into college was so much more fun for me than high school. Like,
Yeah.
so much more like social opportunities, and like it felt way better for me when I went to college. And then also I got into software engineering. That was what I got my degree in, and like software engineering was so fun for me when I first started, that it kind of was scratching that same itch that animation did. So yeah, it's like yeah, I didn't really feel like I had to animate, if that makes sense. And I kept in contact with like Sereth and people. Like Sereth would always show me his animations, and I'd be like, wow, that's so cool. Like, sometimes I'd wish that maybe I had kept with it, like 2012 or something. But yeah, it was like, I felt good about, being a software engineer at that point. So Yeah.
Are you still doing it now?
Yeah, I'm still a software engineer now. Yeah.
Got it. So like, so what kind of made you like officially return to the community, or I guess like Hyun's dojo?
Yeah. Let's see. So this animation that we're watching right now, this was 2016. Because I came back twice actually. So, 2016, I can't remember why. I think it was just that I could afford a big tablet, and it was just kind of, like I was
Big
like,
toll,
yeah.
please.
Yep.
Yeah.
Adult money time.
right, yeah. It's like I was living with my mom at the time, and I didn't really have to pay rent, and I was eating Chipotle every day, which at that time
stacking
Chipotle
money.
was like the cheap thing to do. Chipotle was
Yeah.
like $8 for
Bro, that
chicken
is the
and
life.
rice and beans. Yeah. So it was like I was, engineering salary with no rent, and I was like,
No
you know what? I'm
bills,
gonna
Chipotle
buy
every
a
day.
Cintiq,
Yeah.
like a huge tablet. Yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, it was kind of. I came back and I felt like I had something to say. I don't really know. It was like I felt like everybody in the community was so focused on, oh, is your animation smooth? Is it smooth? And I kind of felt like with this animation specifically that I made, I kind of felt like I was trying to tell the community that like, hey, you don't need to be smooth to be cool. Like,
Yeah.
your stuff can just be cool. And then once I did that, I kind of felt like I had said what I said, and then I think I just kind of stopped animating, or maybe I was really focused on drawing. And then you know how when you start drawing like full figures and you're like trying to learn how to draw like actually, then you go back to animating and you're like, wait, I don't know how to animate anymore because my
Yeah, it changes. You're like using different parts of your brain or something. Like it unwires some from one side to start like wiring the other side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like also I think even at this time for 2016, I don't know that like the meta, if you will, the animation meta, like
Yeah.
there wouldn't have been much information about like how do you do thumbnails, or like how do you storyboard stuff. Like I'm sure people did it, but it was kind of like secrets that you held close to your chest, like
Yeah.
so all of this was just straight ahead that I did here for this animation.
Oh, okay.
And I'm at this point I'm like trying to experiment with like angles and how
Scene
do you,
changes and
yeah exactly. So
like so you consider yourself an old gen animator, right? I guess we all are at this point.
yeah, for sure.
So like how did it feel returning officially, I guess, and then like seeing all these quote new gen animators popping up?
Dude, some of these new gen animators are so good. Like
I know.
it's insane.
I just
freaks, okay? They're freaks, and it's not okay.
I know. Yeah,
what
really
are they feeding
okay.
them? They're feeding them
What's
something.
in the water?
yeah. There's like some conspiracy. It's like TJB, Acely,
Oh,
like
yeah.
The brain.
Tokarev.
Yeah, dude, they
Like-
got like the software update or something. Like they had the GeForce 4090. What the hell, dude?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, and they're also diverse in what they're good at too. It's like,
I know.
yeah, because like, Stone, do you remember, or Hyun, like, in 2009, if you could emulate Turquoise doing shock, you were good, and that was like the
Absolutely.
only thing that you had to do. Like you just had to,
Yeah.
like you just had to do that, and then you were the best.
Yeah, you only had to do like 7% of it is good too. Like you just had to get kind of there, and you're like, damn.
Yeah, exactly. And like LF2, I remember he was always really innovative. But it was like there wasn't as diverse of influences in the stick figure community, because it was like everybody looked up to Turquoise, and then that was what everyone tried to do, and then there was like LF2 and like other like people like that. But yeah, now it's just like so many people are so good at so many things, it's crazy. Yeah. Was that the question? I can't remember.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Okay,
I
yeah.
was one of those people back then, like, because you talk about LF2's animation, like, because I think he was one of the first ones to, like, kind of double frame or triple frame, or, like,
Mhm.
use that
He brought
low
animating.
frame rate.
Uh-huh.
And I hated that, dude. Back then, I hated it. I was like, why is it so choppy? It's not smooth like
You can't
turquoise.
do that. Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I was so kind of jaded by that kind of mindset back then. but now looking back at his animations as I gain experience in animation, I can appreciate it like so much more, like what he did back then and how he was kind of innovating different styles into stick figure animations. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Hatena, if we can find Comeback Collab 2, LF2's part in that is like seared into my brain.
Good. Me
Yeah, I
too.
have to watch it.
Me
Yeah, I have to
too.
watch
Okay,
it.
because so what you gotta know is there's some people that were like LF2 that would never really make anything major or big by themselves, like a full, big, huge release. They did early on, but they kind of faded away. But what they would do is be gone for 6 months or a year, and then they would drop this like freak level animation in a collab or something, and it would just break your brain because it would be trying a bunch of new things in a bunch of different ways. And this was like the perfect. I know exactly what he's talking about because I think it's at the end. I feel like it's towards the end. Isn't
it's
it?
towards the beginning, actually. It's like
is it
first
beginning?
third. Yeah, first third
Is
or
it?
so.
For some reason, I thought it was at the end, but I don't know for sure.
El
I feel like it was
Burrito,
at the
that was
end.
El Burritos right there.
Yeah,
so this
I
is my
remember that.
cousin. Yeah.
I remember that.
This
I remember
is
this.
before my time.
My computer struggled with this collab a lot.
Oh yeah, dude.
It was falling apart.
'Cause
I did not
also-
have a good computer either.
This was before too when we knew about how to, like when files got so big. Oh yeah, here's Burrito,
Okay,
like doing
okay.
angles out of nowhere.
Okay,
like-
pause.
Oh my god.
Pause.
Okay,
I have to say something about this. Go back to when he's running at the angle with the lines. Okay. So those lines, this is a very specific thing. Okay, those speed lines is 3 or 4 frames. You go into Photoshop, you draw literal scribbles everywhere with different brush sizes, and then you take the blur feature and then you just max the slider all the way to one side, and then you export those and then you import them into Flash, you put them in a graphic, and that's how we did the blur lines back then. That was a huge. When that happened, everyone's like, "Can I blur walks?
Yeah.
Can I put speed lines behind walking?" Because it was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, we know how to do this. This is so cool." Because it's
Yeah,
so
for
not a
sure.
Flash thing.
I think something that Burrito is really good too is he was really good at integrating techniques like that to make them look natural, right? Because it's like he's doing that and it looks like like that's what it should look like.
Yes.
Whereas other
Yeah.
people when they did it,
Yeah.
it was like so heavy-handed,
Disjointed. Yeah, because they just wanted to do it. It wasn't. It wasn't because it made the scene look better. It's because they just wanted to do it.
Yeah, for sure. So like I think something Burrito is really good at is he's really good at understanding the fundamental behind why a technique exists.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we gotta find LF2's part. I feel like it's at the end. But
It's
I
after
haven't
this
seen
one.
in, like,
It's like
is it?
yeah, there it is.
Oh,
It
okay.
was
Yeah, you're
there.
right. You're right.
Oh, okay.
You go back.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
That right there, that scene where it's like rotating around him. Oh my god! Plus the water, where he's so for the water technique, he's drawing the body of water and then he's erasing the reflection.
Right.
And like that is just crazy. Like, I don't think people knew to do that at that.
No,
point.
they didn't. It was a totally different perspective.
Yeah, if we can pause on that water right there, like you'll see what I mean. And like I remember I frame by framed this so many times. Oh yeah, also so Jellium Tao, that's Burrito.
That right there.
That's my cousin in the chat.
Ah, hey Burrito, what's up, man?
Yeah. Okay, yes, this scene right here. Yeah, so LF2, what he's doing is he's drawing the bodies of water, that he's going back in and either erasing or it's just pure white, adding the reflections back in to make it look that way. And wow, it's just so amazing.
Yeah, we didn't. That wasn't a thing. That wasn't a known thing that we knew we were allowed to do.
Yeah. And so it was like, little by little, people like LF2 or, Turquoise also did a lot. Turquoise did a ton to innovate for stick figures. But just like little by little, people added more and more to our body of knowledge. And it's just kind of like, now here we are, you have insane people that can do insane things. Like, I don't even know, like, I feel like there's going to be a generation of animators that were inspired by what Watt did for the Chosen tournament, One tournament, that, like, we don't even know yet.
Yep.
Like,
I said this in one of the podcasts that every single person we've ever like talked to, everyone has some kind of like pivotal moment where they saw an animation like, okay, I have to do this now, right? And I was talking about how because of those animations that are coming out are so good, and there's a lot of ones that are really distinctive like that, there's animators being born right now that we won't know of for a few years, and they're going to show up and they're going to do something big and great, and they're going to be like, it was this that brought me here. And it'll look, it's an infinite loop, it just keeps going. It's just so cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, you guys know Watt's animation, right? Like, the sense of scale with everything is just so completely crazy.
It was so good.
Yeah.
And,
How do you spell that? Is it
I couldn't
Y?
find it on YouTube. Hyun, do you know where it is? I saw it on Discord.
We didn't upload it because he said he was going to finish it. So I think he might. I think he might still be working on it.
Oh my god, if he finishes it, that'd be crazy. Yeah. But yeah, if you get a chance, I found it. I just searched for his name on Discord, and he had posted it in like expert chat or something at some point. And yeah, like that. I think that there's going to be, in a year from now, people that were inspired to learn animation from that, and we're going to see techniques come out just because of him, and animations are going to look like what he did. And I'm excited for that because that's crazy.
Yeah, it's just because back then we were kind of innovating new things, and it was a very slow process because like every couple of months we'd figure out a new tech, I guess, for stick figure.
Wow. New patch.
But then now most everything is out there, and like and you can just learn just searching
by
it up.
observing. Yeah, just by watching. You just think you don't even know that you're learning. It's like, oh, this is just how you do it, and then they just continue. They just go. It wasn't like a new concept or whatever, because everything I guess is new in that light. But
so
good.
So I guess like so people like just starting right now are thinking about starting animation. I think now is probably a very good time because people think they're too late because they missed the old days or whatever, but I think it's the complete opposite, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I don't think that if you're feeling like you've missed out on the past, I think that there's a lot that the community's improved on, even just like the sense of community. Like I feel like the community is more inclusive now. We're more diverse, and like the fact that there's like as funny as it is, but like the fact that there's girls in the community would have been something that I think someone in 2008 or 2007 would have never thought about.
It wouldn't have been
just
real. That
point alone just shows how many more people and how much more like points of view and perspectives there are, and just like I think right now is a really good time to be in animation if you're interested in it, for sure.
Yeah, and there's so many resources out there, and I'm thinking of I mean the new Dojo website I'm working on. I'm gonna try to make more resources for people that are trying to start. So, I mean, as much as we hate to say that these new gen people are far surpassing the old gen, I think it's a good thing overall for sure.
It's definitely a good thing overall. It doesn't feel good personally, but in this grand scheme of things, it's really, really cool and wonderful.
It's so cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think there's a lot of resources out to tell your story too, because in like 2007 or 2008, like when I'm learning, the only real tool that you had to learn was you could frame by frame in Flash someone's uploaded animation, so you could like right click forward, right click back. And there was also like the shortcut, right? It was you could right click and hold period or something.
Yep, period and comma.
Yeah, and you could like try to figure out what they were doing by drawing. But even then, you're not really getting a good understanding of like why are they making these decisions. You're just trying to reverse engineer, or you could talk to them, and if they would reply, then you could try to ask them questions, and if they were if they could word it well, even like some people, they can do things but they don't know why, or they can't explain it right. But now there's like so many resources to learn, like Howard Wimshurst, I think he's
Howard,
like he has a great learning stuff. I mean, there's courses too, like you don't even have to like go to college or school anymore. You can just like Howard stuff. I haven't looked at any of Howard's materials, but like shout out Howard. My PayPal's in the. I'm kidding. But like I'm sure his course is great for anyone that wants to learn. Or like there's tons of free material too. I mean, like Hyun, you've made stuff. Tell people.
Not as much as I would have hoped, but yeah, I do want to make more for sure.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit and shift gears here, but I want to talk a little bit about like the difference between animating now as an adult versus like animating when we were younger as kids. Like obviously animation is a huge time sink. So how do you balance life with your animation hobby?
Let's see. I think. Let me think about this.
It's hard.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
hard.
It is really hard. But I guess it's like there's certain things that you kind of have to do in a day, right? Like you have to go to work if you're an adult, and you have to make money, right? You kind of have to eat right, or at least you have to eat right, and then eating right is a
There you
bonus, right?
There you go,
You
yes.
should exercise, and then
Yeah.
you should have like relationships that are meaningful to you, and you should you should go out of your way to make sure that you're appreciating them, right? So like I have a wife, and I have like groups of friends that I hang out with and stuff. But yeah, so I think that if animation's important, you can kind of find a way to figure out how to make it work. And like even if you're only putting in like 10 minutes a day, that's still more than someone who's not doing it at all.
Yeah.
Correct.
So yeah, and I also think like this is just me, but or maybe it's other people too, but I'm not a super perfectionist when it comes to animation. Like I'm a lot more about the hype than anything being perfect, and I think that comes through in my work. Like there's obvious flaws in almost every frame that I draw. Like stuff's not really smooth. Movements are contiguous only in as much as my brain can remember the last 5 frames that I drew. But like, so some people take a lot of time to animate because they're like redrawing the leg of a frame and they're undoing and drawing the leg again and undoing. But like, by the time you've undone and redrawn the leg, I'm already drawing the next frame.
Right.
Oh, got it.
So you're getting a little bit more done with the freedom that you're releasing yourself to. Like,
Yeah,
allow
exactly.
it to be not perfect.
Yeah, and like I also kind of find that for myself, being a perfectionist never helps me learn. But creating lots of work is always how I usually learn better.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because like I could hyperfixate on like, oh well, how exactly should this leg be positioned in this exact frame? But if that takes me 10 minutes to figure that out, and I could have drawn 100 frames in that time, I'll have figured something out different instead. Or
Right.
like, yeah.
I can see that.
I wish I had that.
That's a good take.
Yeah.
That's a good take.
I
I like
think,
that.
It's weird because I was watching Straightening the other day work on a new animation of his, and I believe one of his animations just got featured. It was just really ridiculous, headfirst, straight ahead animation.
Yeah, I've seen that.
If you know this silly one, recently, you know what I'm talking about. But I was watching him work on this next animation, and he was just so fast because he wasn't caring about polish and quality that much. He was just doing it to have fun, and I was just in awe watching him because I myself have been caught up in the idea of, okay, I'm getting better at animation. I've been doing it for so long. I am expected to be more polished in my animation.
Right.
But then watching that, I was like, man, I used to be that fast. What happened? Like
All that
there's
freedom.
a correlation because now I don't have as much fun with stick fights because I focus too much on the polish and being unique.
Right.
So then
Yeah.
I've recently started a new animation where the goal was to not focus on polish and quality that much. It's just to have fun.
Which brings up a really good point. Is animation worth doing at all? Like, what I mean is, like, where do you find the motivation to do it? Because, like, if you're stuck somewhere between, like, pure freedom and I can do anything I want, right, and I don't care, I'm going to keep moving through my frames and I'll figure it out, and the other side of that stick is, like, I'm paralyzed because I feel like it has to be flawless. Where do you find the motivation in what you currently do to, like, keep you pushing forward? Is it that because you have that freedom that you're able to, like, get, like, you have a 12-minute project coming out tomorrow, right? That had a visceral response basically with everyone in the chat here in a good way, because you're like, oh my god, because you can just see like 1,000 hours of work in your mind's eye to get to that number of that just a raw time. So, like, where do you get the motivation to tackle something that big?
Yeah, let's see. So first is that I had help too, right? Like I didn't animate myself 12 minutes, but to be fair, I probably did about 8 or so.
Right.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, there's like personal motivations for why this specific animation versus others. I think Yeah, let me think about this for a second.
Take your time.
Yeah, so when I got back into animation, this also coincides with me actually getting in touch with Tao or Burrito, as it were. And we actually started doing music first. Because, like, both he and I were just, like, randomly creative about a bunch of different stuff. It's like, whether I'm doing stick figure animations or something, like, I always like to have creative hobbies. So, like, I do music. I was painting Warhammer miniatures for a while. Just different stuff like that. And so I think we were doing music for a while. And then I think just because he and I were like, we would say like, okay, this Sunday we're gonna like do a call for 2 hours and we're gonna like work on a song together. And that worked for him. I think at the time, I don't think he had a baby yet, but at some point he had a kid in all of this. And so like then his schedule became even more constrained. Yeah, so I was we were doing music stuff together, and then at some point Gilded Guy's animation with Andre came out, and then I also saw Donnie Boots's animations. And there was something about Donnie's animations that seemed like so ideal to me. Like it was like, wow, if I could picture things, which I have aphantasia actually, so I have a hard time picturing things in my head.
Wait, no way, me too.
Yeah. Okay.
The Hyun category.
Yeah.
Finally.
Plus one to Hyun, dude.
So Hyun, actually, this is how my aphantasia works: is that I can't control what I see, but I can see things sometimes. But it's like I don't get to control what I see.
That's terrifying. Cool.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there in the car quietly.
Yeah, well, it's not like I'm hallucinating though, like if I'm trying to visualize something, I don't get to pick what I visualize, just something visualizes to me. It's kind of, so it's like if someone says picture a giraffe, I'll close my eyes and try to picture a giraffe, but I don't see a giraffe. I see like my
Nope, coffee mug. Sorry.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
What the?
Yeah, so sometimes what happens for me is that I will suddenly get this like muse of like a scene in my head. And it's like, it's very, like there's this sensation of movement associated with the scene. And like, if I capture that, then I'm able to draw what I saw. And it's like, if I can do it like the next day, then I can kind of capture what I saw in my head. But I don't get to control what it is. It's just whatever it was, that's it.
Yeah, you're in flow state. You're basically tapping into an unknown source that's kind of guiding you. And it feels right what you're doing, even if you don't have it fully planned in your brain completely. It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, this is the thing that I'm doing. And it just keeps being like direct fed to you, even though you're not visualizing it like line by line.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like if you have this, or, I mean, people nurture their creativity in all sorts of ways. But, for my specific aphantasia, I feel like that's something that I've nurtured, is that like, okay, I don't know I'm going to animate tomorrow, but I just kind of trust that something's going to come to me, and that when it does, I'm going to just do it, and then we'll see what happens. And yeah, that's just kind of how it is. And then picking up different techniques helps your ability to like, oh god, your ability to fulfill whatever you saw, right? But
right.
Yeah.
Damn. I mean, at least you see something, man. I look up for ideas, I just see the ceiling.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
there's no cloud. There is a cloud. It's just empty.
Yeah, for sure. So actually, this is something that I just learned about recently. But there's people who learn language, and they're called Gestalt language processors. So a normative brain, when it's learning language, will learn like the word ball, or it'll like learn the word cup, and it'll learn the association that cup is a thing. You say cup when you're referring to it. But a Gestalt language processor, they will learn a full phrase. So they might learn like to infinity and beyond. And then their brain associates that phrase with something.
Okay.
And so
that's
it's
how
like,
I am then. I like
really?
that. That's similar to how I am. Yeah. Because like if someone asks me, for instance, like a movie title or something, I don't know. They're like, have you seen this and that? I'm like, I have no idea. Tell me one part of it. And then they go, yeah, this guy opens this and he does that. And I go, yep, actually I can tell you the whole thing and the title now, because I have that chunk that I need. to like
Yeah,
go
that's so
for. I have
funny.
something closer to that, whatever that is.
Yeah, dude, there's so many like different brain processes that are like non-normative that I think in like 50 years, when we have a better understanding of the brain, things will make like way more sense why certain people thought certain things or, were certain ways. But yeah, I always like thinking about those sorts of things. But yeah, so Gestalt language processors. My wife, she's a speech therapist, so she
Oh,
helps
wow.
she helps people with that. For example, that's one of the things she does, anyways.
That's super cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
That was a
Crazy.
huge tangent, by the way. I
No,
don't
it's
remember
not.
the
Yeah.
question.
This is what
I'm
it's
trying to
for.
think
It's
of
all
like how do I
about.
transition this back into the next
Yeah.
topic.
So my section of topics.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only one with my name on it. Yeah.
I think we were trying to answer like why animate or like why this
Yeah, what's
project.
the
Why?
motivation?
Man, that was like
Yeah.
5-10 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
your brain is this way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it was like I was hanging out with Tao a lot, and Gilded Guy's animation, Donnie Boots' animation, as well as like Soapy and her stick figure timeline, and all the people in that community. Shout out stick figure timeline community.
Yeah, that was so big.
Yeah, like they reached out to me and they were like asking me questions, and I was like, "What? Like people are so curious about this? Like, I didn't even think that there would be a community left to go to, even if I wanted to animate,
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
or that it would be so different that
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't be anything like I remembered."
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm happy to say that the community's almost exactly as I remember, and if it's any different, it's better in every way.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I agree. It's because it's always been about the people.
And the
Yeah.
theme of like having a like interest, helping each other, inspiring each other. It's just all the details of how it once was and how it is now have changed. But the thing that matters the most is still there and thriving. And that's the only thing that matters. Because 10 years from now, it may not be Discord, it may not be podcasting, it might be an entirely different format. But as long as people are still inspiring each other, people are still creating, and other people are being inspired and starting from those new creations, that's the thing that matters the most.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But yeah, so once it was really like the stick figure timeline community. That was like what sparked it, because Burrito and I hanging out again, we were doing music and stuff, and like that was cool for us. But then we're talking about like, hey, like remember Stone? Yeah, like that was so cool. Anyways, back to music. But it was like the seed was planted, right? Because we're hanging out again.
Yeah.
And then at some point it was like I opened up Flash just like for something to do with music, that just to be funny, like, hey, what if we synced this with this? And then it kind of turned into like, oh well, like because there's something else with Burrito and I is that he's way more of a perfectionist than I am, but he also understands fundamentals way more than I do. So it's like if us combined, like by our powers combined, like I started streaming and he would watch me animate, and he would be like, oh dude, if you move it in the camera like this, you should move the mountain in the background in this way so that it makes it look right in perspective. And I'm like, whoa, like how do you know that? Like what system of understanding are you used to know that you should do that? And then he's like explaining to me these things, and like I'm like, it just kind of felt like I feel like a lot of people have given me a lot of art advice, but I think Burrito, for whatever reason, the way he explains things to me helped me at least understand how important fundamentals are. Because like I don't know if this is the way you guys think about it too, like old school stick figure stuff, but like composition was never something that you cared about as a side-scrolling 2D animator, right?
No.
It's like composition. What do you mean? You just draw a line, you draw your stick figure, and they fight. And like composition's like this ivory tower, like doesn't matter at all concept, right?
No. Yeah.
But now it's like composition. That's like on the top of my list to think about. Like before I draw, I'm gonna like make sure I have a thumbnail, and I'm gonna make sure the composition's right, and like I'll get feedback on my composition. Like second, he comes in and out of the community, but like he's one of my number one like composition people. Like if I'm struggling with something, I'll be like, dude, like
Really?
what's this help me with this composition, and like he's really good with that. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
why
Sorry.
On YouTube, like when I'm trying to learn more about stick figures, I actually look up movie shot breakdowns of like people reviewing how people shot movies in different compositions. And
Yeah.
I actually learned a lot from that, just like what different shots kind of convey in the audience's feeling.
For
Because
sure.
that makes a huge difference in the overall storytelling. It's just how everything is composed.
Yeah, definitely. And like there's also analogs to like filmmaking and like I don't know, analog film making with
Yeah.
animation where like there's certain shots that are like famous where the director will pull the camera back and they'll change the focal length on the lens as they're pulling back and you know, like there's things like that that are referenced in animation, but unless you're really familiar with why they would do that or what technique they're using, you wouldn't know to do that in an animation.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's like so cool how like there's so many other mediums that you can study. Like this is also like kind of like why would you animate? This is also like why you don't need to beat yourself up if you're not animating. Because like, you know, I bring a lot of things from miniature painting into stick figure animation actually. Like the thinking about how you're highlighting your model as you're painting it, you know, they have different terms for it. They call it like volumetric highlighting, where you're thinking about how are you going to paint like an arm, thinking about it as a cylinder so that it looks right in light. Because like a lot of miniature painting, the reason why there's so many techniques associated with it is because when a miniature shrunk, it loses its ability to occlude ambient light. So you have to paint the ambient light occlusion onto it so that it looks in
That makes
scale.
sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, because it's like it's so tiny that it just doesn't occlude ambient light as well. So you have to paint that occlusion to make it look like it's this larger than life thing. So if you look up like Warhammer miniature painting, they're doing this, and they have a bunch of different techniques. Like they have one where it's like zenithal highlighting, where that's where you will spray the whole miniature with black, and then you will spray from above with white, and that spraying it from above casts light, quote unquote, which is your white paint, down onto the miniature, and then it looks like your miniature is in the sunlight.
Right, like it now has like a tiny light source that matches its tiny scale, but realistically it brings that it scales the light.
Yeah, it also just adds a light source at all, because you know like you could just
because it's not there, because it's overwhelmed by the sheer lack of size it has versus the light that we naturally are within.
Yeah, so like if you're curious, so zenith as in the sun, zenith, and then it's zenithal highlighting. That's a technique that you can do in miniature painting that will simulate light casting on your miniature from above, and then you have this base to paint off of that looks right. So like if you're not miniature painting, I feel, or if you're not stick figure animating, sorry, I don't think you need to beat yourself up, because there's so many ways to be curious about the world that as long as you're being curious, you know, actively engaging your brain and thinking about things and following your passion, you know, like Stone talks about being toxically in love with topics. I think as long as you're following, you know, something, if you have in mind coming back to animation, you know, you'll use these things. Like in this project,
It's true.
like I used my music production skills. Like I mastered all the audio myself. Burrito or Tao, he did like more than half the music for this project, like, which is insane. Like I own the rights or have the rights to use all of the music in this animation, either because Tao made it or because it was DMCA free and it was
That's
from a
huge.
source.
Yeah, that is
Big. That's big.
Yeah, so it's like, you know,
there's so much music that I want to use in my own projects, but you just can't anymore. It's just too copyright ridden, like the entire internet space.
Yeah, for sure. And so like yeah, I guess, you know, just having people around me and also having the resources to do larger things is like, that's my answer to the why. And then also just, you know, having Burrito to like really do stuff with, and like he's like he and I wrote the story to this project together, and like we kind of like co-figured out like, okay, how do we want this to look, you know, like what techniques are we going to focus on, or like what's sort of the end game of what we want everything to look like. Like he was really big in helping me through that, and then also getting to work with Donnie on some of his projects too. Like that kind of showed me like, okay, you can break things down and you don't have to do everything straight ahead. Like you can have a rough, and then you can fix the rough, and then you can draw over it. Like there's so many techniques that I learned from working with Donnie. But yeah.
So you talk about like Burrito a lot. Like, has Burrito animated at all since then, or is he just kind of in the background?
Yeah, Burrito's animated some. I think also Burrito likes. I think he likes sticking to himself, or I don't know actually. Maybe he could answer. But like I think he more than me. Like I think that I'm a bit more egotistical than him. Maybe like I like when people look at my stuff and like I, as much as it's like, oh, maybe I should just animate for myself. Like I do kind of animate because people like my stuff. Whereas I think that he just does it because he like has to. He'd be bored to death. I would be bored to death too if we didn't have animation. But yeah. Yeah. So I mean, he animates. He did the music for a bunch of the stuff, and like, it's crazy the quality of music that he had. We're actually gonna release the soundtrack to the animation on SoundCloud when the animation premieres. So it's like if you like the music, there will be a link to the SoundCloud, so you can go listen to the like soundtrack that he made for the animation. So.
Oh yeah, we'll link all that after this podcast is over. So.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Sure, check that out, guys. Cool. We have a few more topics. Hatana, did you want to pick the last topic?
I've been waiting for a little.
Oh no.
Yes, I'm
sorry. Also, I don't know about you guys. I could sit here and talk forever. So yeah.
That's awesome.
It's great. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we'll go over a couple more. Then we'll look at our animation feature, and then we'll answer some questions. Getting some questions from y'all in chat. So feel free to ask your questions, and we'll get to them in just a bit. But you started working on this project, this next big duel that you're working on, for a while. What were the woes of planning this as like a larger project entirely?
I think so. The biggest woe, but also like the biggest blessing in the world, was figuring out how to work with other people, and specifically not in a collaboration, in like a collab sense, right? Because if you, but also just even it being a collab versus a project with a story is so different, right? Like if you're running the Kickman collab, you could have 50 people sign up and do whatever the hell they want as long as they follow the dimensions and the FPS. And you can just throw it all together, and maybe it syncs to the music, maybe it doesn't post, right? Or like obstacle course, same thing. Like as long as you have enough people submit, doesn't matter, right? But like for this, it's like we had a script, there were scenes, like I was working with voice actors, and the other thing is that I was paying everyone that worked on my stuff, I paid them at like an industry standard rate. Like I didn't want any favors.
Damn.
So yeah, I budgeted to pay people to work for me. I think it was around $3,000 was what it ended up being.
Jesus.
So I saved up for months, and like I didn't DoorDash as much. But yeah, so it's like for months of saving, and then also just working on it for months too. You're like slowly, okay, I can save this amount.
Right.
And so working with voice actors and knowing that like I need to have the script ready for them. So that they can do their lines, so that I don't have to ask for corrections. So the two main voice actors, there's actually four. So Holy Junkie, he did a guard, but he did like an extra. My two main voice actors were Jade, their SJ Harris actor on Twitter, and then the other one was King Killo, or Killer KB.
Oh, dude, wait, Killo was in this?
Yeah, so King Killo voices Andre. And then Jade, SJ Harris, she voices both Bident and Steel. And the life that she breathed into both characters is astounding.
No way.
Yeah, like I always kind of wanted to have voice acting in animation for my stuff because I always thought that would be cool to have, like your characters like yelling at each other, getting hype, or whatever, like having their anime moment. But yeah, it was like that was always felt a little bit out of reach. Like I don't really like the sound of my own voice when it comes to that. I'm not gonna voice myself. And like I don't really like asking for favors either. Like I think I was kind of blessed in the sense that I had people that really believed in what I was working on, and then I was also able to pay them fairly. Like it's like they would have worked for free, and like several people that worked for me were like, "Oh, dude, just let me do a scene. I don't even care. Just don't pay me. I just want to do a scene." And then it's like at the end, I'm like, "All right, dude, give me your PayPal. How many hours did you work?" So. Yeah,
that's so cool though. It's
That's
like
awesome.
a full-on like official production then, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm kind of trying to be like Alan Becker or Gilded Guy, but just on my shoestring budget. Like I don't have any ad revenue or anything built up yet. I did make a Patreon, which it's like so strange to think about making a Patreon because, like, I don't quite know how I feel about asking people for money for work. Because it's like I'm animating because I would do this if there was no audience almost. But I think I made a Patreon because it's like I can save up X amount of money, but if people are giving me money, then I can just use that money to pay animators or to pay voice actors or whatever.
That's the dream, yeah.
Yeah. So like my Patreon is created as like if you like my work, if you want to see more big stick figure projects, just $2 a month or whatever. I'm not even trying to ask for that much from anyone, because I don't want to feel predatory, right? Like I don't want someone to like think I'm someone that I'm not and they give me $100 or something. I don't want that. I just
Right.
A little bit of money goes a long way to paying an animator for 20 hours of their work, which I think that was about the average that people worked.
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of people realize, but like animation, even stick figure animations, it just takes a lot of time. Period.
It's all
Yeah.
time, dude. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm glad you're kind of using the stuff that you've done in like real life and kind of using that as an advantage to kind of fund projects, because a lot of the time people don't have money to fund these things. Like like even like $100 is kind of like a lot for like a stick figure budget of when we're doing like collabs and stuff. So
Right, yeah,
that's
for
really
sure.
cool.
Yeah,
Shout
and
out
like
to LF2 Master, dude.
yeah,
what
the
advice,
engineering.
dude. Go be an engineer, come back
Yeah.
and pay me to animate your scene.
Yeah, it's literally like he said he made the, what was it, he called it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. I mean, the other thing that I kind of thought about was like brand. Like Into the AM or something. Like they make shirts. Like
Yeah.
they sponsor YouTubers, and like I was kind of figuring like there might be some critical mass, and like Hyun, you probably already know the answer to this, and it's probably not a good answer, but there might be some critical mass of like, hey, if I'm making projects every 6 months, and Into the AM, if they paid me like $10,000, like that would be a massive amount of money that, from my perspective, that you could use to pay people to do stuff.
Oh yeah.
And to them, that might not be that much, like, and then we just sort of throw in like hey, Into the AM's a thing, blah, blah, like whatever. Here's like the ad segment of the animation that's 30 minutes. That's awesome because I had this budget and we used it, but yeah, I mean, maybe that's not as good. Maybe that's a grim outlook in the sense that that's not really realistic.
I mean,
but,
now it's completely normalized because every YouTuber does it,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Or like a brand's willingness to, give me money for something that they're not going to see returns on for 6 months or something, right? Like I don't know if that's feasible or something.
It is. It is. I think it is. Because we did that with the Chosen One project with.
Really?
Yeah. We had some sponsors who graciously donated to the prize pool for in exchange of shouting them out and stuff. But obviously, they weren't going to make a return for like at least 6 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is
Okay.
possible, 100%, and maybe I can even help you there. When you-
Really, dude, I would appreciate that. Yeah, like
Yeah, for sure.
awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna be drafting some professional sounding emails in the near future.
Yeah, cool.
Because yeah, I mean, like it really meant a lot to me to have people really put, like you could see the effort that people put into some of these scenes that they did for me, and like it was so awesome to get to pay them to do it too. Like that was so cool. Yeah, like super big privilege of mine to be able to do that. So
Nice. Well, yeah, I think we all look forward to seeing that huge project dropping tomorrow. But
Yeah.
for now, we are going to look at some animation feature, right? An animation spotlight while you guys ask questions for Steel.
Oh my, yeah, this
Danny, you
animation
can.
is by Stilo, called Ryomen Sukuna.
Stilo. Yeah, this was featured recently.
Cool.
I suggested this because this is made in Pivot. I don't know if you guys will believe that or not,
Oh,
but it
boy.
is. Okay.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
So hearing that someone made something in Pivot is either the most cracked thing ever,
It's
or
cracked.
yeah.
What
like-
the hell?
There-
Oh
wait,
my
hang
God.
on, hang on. I gotta unmute the tab. One sec.
Yeah.
It is
my.
cracked.
Here,
Right off
here
the
we go,
bat,
here we
it's
go.
cracked, dude. What the?
There we go.
What?
Wait, that's Pivot?
That's Pivot.
You said?
That's
That's
pivot?
Pivot.
Oh my.
Why and how and why?
I don't know how.
I mean,
I don't know
that's
when. but
What the?
Oh, man. I mean, yeah.
What? The redraw? Like import a new model every frame?
I don't know. I don't know how I did it.
This is like watching someone speed run a video game, where it's like, what? Like, how are they doing all
Yeah,
these things?
yeah.
This is crazy,
Wow.
Yeah. What
And
the?
if-
What is the pivot meta? This is a real life thing that he's doing.
Yeah,
If you guys,
that's crazy.
Does anyone want to explain like what Pivot is and like why it's so impressive that it is made in Pivot?
So pivot is basically like you're given a figure or you import a figure, and it has like predetermined, or you could determine them bone structure to rotate the. You can rotate the limbs and the legs and everything, but it's kind of attached to that structure, right? And typically you had to like copy and paste it to the next frame, and just move every little joint and limb a little bit, and then go to the next frame. Move everything a little bit. It's kind of like digital claymation in a sense. Like you're given a figure and you have to just move everything a little bit, move forward, move everything a little bit forward, and move forward. So the fact that he has like changing shapes and angles, I can't.
It's
It
very
doesn't make
similar
sense.
to what I see in a lot of more recent stick nodes animations. I used to hate stick nodes. I was so vocal about it.
Yeah,
But
dude,
there have
me
been so
too.
many people that like they're just cracked at it. Like I don't know what happened, but like there's so many people that break it to like very similar to these kinds of pivot animations where they'll break it in ways
Yeah.
you never thought they could.
So if this is what this guy did for 4,000 subs, I want to see what he does for 8,000.
Yeah,
True,
what the hell?
Or someone get this man 10,000 subs. Yeah.
I heard
Yeah.
I heard he's gonna move to a drawing animation program, so I'm kind of looking
Let's
forward
see,
to what
yeah.
I can do.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
So that was like my biggest critique for people who stick with these kinds of programs. Is it
Yeah.
feels like they're holding themselves back, but clearly they're comfortable with it. But like,
Yeah.
imagine what they could do if they like unlocked that potential, where they don't have
Imagine
to
if
rely
he
on
had
like,
a-
rigs and weird systems.
Imagine if you had a real weapon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like there's so much fundamentals that he's showcasing here that's crazy. Like it's kind of like when you have a tool, like the minimal set of tools makes you more creative or something, but like just his ability to render hands and faces and figures here, like he's already showing that he would be able to do this with any tool.
Yeah,
It's
he's
just-
he's kind of hammering in nails with a pair of scissors. It's like,
Right.
you could, like, I could see how you could, but then your brain kind of warps and you're like, well, wait a minute, how did he? That's 8 inches thick. How did he with scissors? Like you're like, I guess, but you really start to struggle to imagine how you would have been able to get that done. And you're like, just
Yeah,
get a
for sure.
hammer.
Wow.
Well
This is
done,
also
Stilo.
like people that are good with EasyTune. I think
Yeah.
does Okidocs use EasyTune? I think.
No, that's Flipnote.
I think
That's
s-
Flipnote Studio.
Flipnote.
Oh, they use Flipnote.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
They're
I
very
mean,
similar
even-
looking. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's still crazy to me though. Like the things that he can do in Flipnote.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. It's like using
Yeah.
very limited programs to make like epic stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So cool. All right.
That's incredible.
Well, shall we take some questions?
Let's take
No.
Yeah. Oh.
No.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh wait,
Oh,
we
wait.
have donations. Oh my gosh, we have a
Well,
lot
yeah,
of
we
donations.
have
Oh,
big,
let's go.
big boy donations this time.
Oh wait. So while
Um,
we're doing, or before this though, Hitena, you had written down a question: the age-old debate of brush versus line. I just wanted
no,
to
we
know
don't,
how.
we don't got time for that right now.
Oh, we
I mean,
don't.
we could cover it.
We've been ranting so
Okay,
much.
Okay.
Man,
You want to
no,
cover that?
Well,
I
no,
mean,
I
do
just
you want to?
I just wanted to note how it's so funny how when you start out, because it's along the lines of picking your tool, right? Like, am I going to be an easy tune animator? Am I going to be a pivot animator? Am I going to use Flash? Same for stick figure or brush or line, right? Like, it's so funny how when you're just beginning, that feels as significant as when you first start playing Pokemon for the first time, and you're
Yeah.
like, which starter Pokemon am I going to pick? Is it Squirtle or Charmander? And it's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You know, it kind of matters because it's going to be what you remember, but eventually you're going to get Mewtwo anyways, and you'll
Yeah,
be
it's
good.
gonna-
You know,
it's
like,
You're gonna get an
Yeah.
equal experience no matter who you choose.
It's gonna suck in the
Yeah.
first gym, but other than that,
yeah, for sure.
I mean, I was a diehard brush fan
Yeah.
back in the day, and I would always preach for brush because it's like it's a lot more natural. You get more flow. You can, it's less restrictive. But now I completely flipped 180, and I just use line now because it's just so much easier to use. I don't even have to use a tablet.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I can just lean all the way back like I'm doing on this couch, and I can just animate bangers.
That's wild.
that's just flat bangers while being horizontal. Dude.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
But
All
yeah,
right.
it's crazy how like prideful everyone was with brush versus line back then. Crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right.
moving on to donations first. We got $50 from
50.
Oh my God.
Quilxis Bimo. Thanks for
Quilxis.
Let's go.
the name. They
Is that the one that
said,
we know?
I don't know. But they said glad that the community is still going strong, forever unrusting heart.
Forever Unresting, yeah. Oh
It
man,
could be.
thank you so much.
And if we got
Quilxis?
Quilxis, I have no idea how to say that name. Bimo.
Thank you so much
That's
for
the
the
only thing I
50,
can read.
yeah.
Thanks, Bimo.
Bimo. We appreciate
only
it.
thing I
Man.
can
Thank
read.
you so much.
Next $20 from Thesavoir saying, "Let's goo Steel." We will do justice.
Yeah.
then.
So the Sivir, he helped me with my animation. I hired him to help.
Oh, got
do a
it.
scene. Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
hell yeah.
Awesome.
Did you call him
Yeah, shout
Thesiver?
out. Wait, what's his name?
Thesavoir.
Really?
Reservoir.
Yeah, it's
No
like
way.
it's like reservoir, but the
Wait, no, I've called him the Sivir to his face, and he didn't say anything.
oh,
Really?
I called him
thought-
Thesavoir, and then he freaked out because I was the first person to get it right first try.
Maybe the
Oh,
only
my.
one.
Let it be known.
Let it be known.
And if that's the wrong pronunciation, then I don't know, pranked. That's now
Pranked. Thank you.
now going to be the
Thank
common
you. Thank you so
pronunciation. Anyway, thank you for the 20. Miffy donated $2.30. Said, "Hey, Steel and gang, saw your work whip on Twitter."
Oh, thank you.
Nice.
And then Quick B with $2 saying, "Broke the bank for you guys, heart."
Hey,
Let's
Quick
go,
B,
Quick
what's up?
B.
Nice.
Thank you. Dude,
All right.
we've got a lot of donations this stream.
Oh, yeah.
I think this might be the most.
Heck
Let's
yeah.
go.
Well, I think last time someone donated 100 though, right? This
Oh,
might be the
yeah,
most
yeah,
numerically, but like overall.
number
Yeah, yeah. So thank you for the donations, everyone.
Yeah.
We-
That's huge.
we- Thank you so much.
All right. Speaking of Thesavoir asked a question. Where do y'all see this
All right.
community going in 5 years?
You know
Oh,
what?
man.
AI is coming for us. No, I'm kidding.
Our jobs, and we're gonna be homeless in 5 years.
Yeah.
But
I could make a prediction if you guys.
yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
So,
Mhm.
I think in 5 years, people are either going to be using Blender or some other tool. Like shout out TJB, Blender,
Oh, yeah.
Blender user. I think Seraph also uses Blender as well.
Oh yeah.
I think that the tools that we're going to have available to us in 5 years are going to be crazy. I think the learning techniques that we're going to have are going to be even better. I think that, I think there are some concerns about AI, like, oh, if people can just generate a video based on prompting it, then why would anyone look at something that someone else created? I think I'm kind of hopeful that that us as a community and animators are going to find a way to tell meaningful stories and to express things that even AI is not going to be able to do, even in 5 years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that sure, maybe our workflows might look a little different, and like maybe some aspects of things will be impacted, but I'm confident that people will find a way to do cool stuff, and I think that's what this community is all about. So
Absolutely, 100% agree. Yeah, I'm not as worried about AI as a lot of people are, because I know like you can't surpass the human touch.
yeah,
Like there's something about the human design behind any creative decision that means so much more to people than anything that an AI could do, and you can tell that it's there as well. I don't care how good AI gets, quote unquote, it's still learning from stories that are already done. They're not coming up with anything new.
Yeah.
To look
Yeah.
at the inspiration for why we're doing it in the first place. It's not like, okay,
Yeah.
it's not like 99.9999% of the people who are doing this right now are doing it because they love it. So a lot of people's concerns with AI are from a workplace standpoint of like, well, now how is someone going to make X amount of dollars doing this thing? It's like, well, the joke's on you, AI, because we're already not making any money doing this.
Yeah.
You're gonna make us make negative money to do the thing we were going to do anyways. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, regardless if it got impressive, we're still going to be doing what we wanted to do anyways. I was left in the dust via quality decades ago. So if I'm still doing it now, I'm going to be still doing it then when there's something else doing it better than me. I don't care. You know what I mean? You can't pay me negative, maybe.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
true,
Yeah. Well, like
There's something.
Oh
Okay.
no, you go.
I was gonna say there's something authentic about stick figure animator or animations in general. It's like my stuff is so bad that an AI would never be able to recreate the way that I do stuff.
Stop, dude,
Right?
stop.
Well, no, but I'm saying like
AI.
it's so bad, but that's why you like it. It's like, or
You're not gonna
maybe
train
not
AI on
bad,
me.
but like it's so off the wall and completely like you'd have to be insane to think of the stuff that I would do, that an AI would just go, oh yeah, well here's the way Steven Spielberg would represent
Yeah,
it with like,
Mark
perfect
Safe.
explosions and like
Marked safe from AI.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had a conversation about this, where the stick figure community is going to be in like a bit with Pymations a couple years ago, and I still think that we're going to see a renaissance of sorts. Like we had a huge boom in like 2015, 2016, 2017, that era, and then it's kind of dipped for a bit. But I get the feeling that we're slowly building the tools and members of the community that one day it's just going to go off the rails, and like the floodgates will open. We won't be ready for it, but
No.
Yeah.
Oh man,
But,
that's
like-
kind of scary.
it
Wait,
is a bit.
wait.
But like I'm ready for it. I know it's going to happen. I know it. Mark my word.
Yeah. Also, I think something that I've been thinking about even since like 2016 is like how it takes so long to do animations that like compared to like someone who just has an iPhone, who just like walks outside and like says something and maybe they're a little charismatic and they can make content that way. Like I'm not charismatic. I don't have an iPhone. Like I can't make content as quickly as someone who can just walk outside and be cool. But there's still a draw to what we're doing. There's still
Yeah.
people like watching animations. I don't know if I would say they like watching animations more than they like watching someone going outside with their iPhone and filming themselves. Like I think that's kind of a value judgment or whatever, but I think that there's always going to be someone wanting to watch stuff, and I think that there's something inherently inspiring about thinking that someone spent a lot of time working on something and that you could also spend time working on something and do something cool too.
Exactly.
That's the core of it. That's the
100%.
thing that can't be taken away.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll move on to the next question. I can tell this is This is easy bait for us to rant on for a while.
Let's go.
I've noticed. Solomon asked, we've already kind of touched on this, but feel free to expand here. They want to know how we feel about the new generation of stick figure animators using pivot and stick nodes, and what are some animations you've seen from stick nodes and pivot that you enjoyed. I'd like to kick off by, I don't have any one specific animation, but there are two stick nodes animators that really stick out to me, no pun intended, as like really breaking the rules of those like joint bone style application software, whatever you want to call it. I think it's Jack Fly and Big Boy.
Jack Fly
I think
and
they're
Big
both.
Boy.
I mean, I can pull some of their stuff up here, but
Yeah, we
their
gotta see
stuff
some.
never ceases to impress me because it is insane what they're able to do. Let me pull up Big Boy first because I know I can find it.
For me, while you grab that, fundamentally, it's like a lot of the times when I see something that's really, really impressive in like these more limited programs, the only thing my brain can do is it's stuck in the place two distinct hard spots. One being, wow, that's really impressive that they did that in that program, and the other one being, I really wish they could have just used a different program, and I can't wait to see what they do when they're not shackled to the floor, you know what I mean, by this limited software. So it's not to like talk down at anything they did. It's more so like I'm so frustrated with how impressive it is, and I want for them to be able to be freed of that and see what they can do with something that's not shackling them.
You know, there probably is something to how approachable stick nodes and pivot is, though, because like when you look at Flash for the first time, you're like, there's like 20 different icons. You have to like figure out what the keyframing thing even looks like. The color palette isn't even really super obvious. Like, and you're like, dude, I just want to draw a stick figure. Like, just
just give me something and I want to make it move. I don't want to worry about. It's the whole point of why I'm here in the first place for stick figures. It's like I don't want to have to think about all this.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think that it's cool that, you know, people like animating so much that they just find a tool that works for them and they
do that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with it for sure.
I think they're getting better and better too, especially like stick nodes and stuff. Because like, I remember recently I released an animation and I got a comment of multiple people saying, "Hey, what phone app did you make? Use to make that animation?" I'm like, "What phone app? What are you
every video I make now is like, "Oh, this was animated on stick nodes, wasn't it?"
Yeah, that dribbles my brain. I can't
it's
even.
Not even that. Like they don't even expect you to use the computer. Like everyone's just on their phones and like use everything on their phones now. So it's just like
we might just be old though.
So what I'm about to pull up, keep in mind, is done on stick nodes.
Okay, yeah.
All right, let's see it.
Also, while we're watching this, I think it's Tokarev uses his phone as his tablet, and he like connects it to his computer. Tokarev, if you're in the chat, I see you. Is that true, or was it you, or was it someone else that uses their phone as their tablet? Like, that blew my mind. Someone said that to me. I never thought to do that, but it's like genius.
The hell?
Oh my god!
Also, that animation was insane.
Stick nodes?
Yeah, this is
like,
stick nodes.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does this kind of quality.
That's insane. It looks like
they're not even stick
even
figures anymore.
Yeah, they're not even.
Yeah, like what is happening? This is so crazy.
It's like Toon Boom. I expect this to be made in Toon Boom.
And there's another guy, I forget his name, but there's another guy who's even implementing Blender 3D animation with their stick nodes animations, and they look insane.
That's wild.
I can't speak on Pivot as much. I think Pivot's kind of fallen out of relevancy with stick nodes kind of taking it over in recent years. But like as far as stick nodes go, I know I've seen some incredible things done on it, especially lately.
Yeah. Also, what's the iPad drawing app? I use it to draw a lot. No, it's it's the one that you just draw with.
Procreate?
Procreate, yeah. Procreate has Dreams now, which is an animation software.
That's right.
I haven't looked at it yet. I was meaning to the next time I go on a plane and I'm like flying for 3 hours. I was like, I'm gonna try Dreams. But I bet that there's going to be like a generation of Procreate Dreams users that
True,
we're gonna
yeah.
see in like 2 years that are gonna be doing insane things.
Oh yeah, because that thing's like, it looks like it's built to be used by the industry.
Right,
That's
and
how
like
it
the
was
brushes
advertised,
and stuff. Yeah.
Like it's marketed towards the industry. So it's going to be really interesting to see what a mobile user base can do with something that is intended for the animation industry. That's going to be insane.
Yeah, for sure. Damn it, that's kind
Yeah.
of crazy.
But yeah, I mean, hey, more tools. We'll
For
come,
sure,
we'll come
yeah.
upon a renaissance, I promise.
Yeah. Also using DaVinci Resolve for me to compile all of my different scenes together. One, made it easier to just focus on a scene and be as messy as I needed to with layers and not care about how my messiness with layers is going to impact the next scene, because I could just create a new Flash file. But yeah, that helped me a lot with this project and like staying motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question. We're moving on.
Okay, yeah.
By Tokarev asks, Steel, do you plan on staying in the community?
Yeah.
See you guys.
I plan on it. Yeah.
Actually, this is my leave. This is my final.
Yeah.
my final
Yeah,
appearance.
I mean, well, because you know how when I created Steel versus Core, it was like I felt like I said what I wanted to say, and then it was kind of like, all right, I have other creative interests, I'm gonna go do that. But I haven't said what I wanted to say yet, even with this animation. I have Burrito and I are writing the script for Steel versus Mr. Pix.
Oh my gosh.
And the script for that right now, I think, is going to be 24 minutes, unless I do something to break it up
Whoa.
or
What the
condense
heck?
things.
Nice.
And yeah, there's another scene. I'm going to start like teasing stuff here, but there's a scene we're writing right now that's Biden versus Chuck. That's
Okay.
either
Oh my God.
it's either going to be a whole other thing afterwards, or it's like at the end. So like we have a ton of stuff that we want to figure out how to do. Yeah, Steel versus Mr. Pix. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're kind of bringing back these old characters that were kind
Yeah.
of lost to time and kind of bringing them back into the spotlight, because I think more people deserve to know like these old characters.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and like the way that we're kind of integrating with the story, we're trying to follow the lore that they wrote about themselves, but we're also trying to use it in a way that serves whatever we care about, right? Like
Yeah.
like Andre, there is no RHG. Like Andre's not the king of gladiators or, you know, his actual lore. We're just using him as a character, but we are trying to follow tropes or things that were written about them in the stories. So yeah.
Yeah, why not?
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Question from Struck Anims. Question for Steel. Do you have... Oh, pardon me. My brain is not working. Struck Anims. Question for Steel. Do you listen to heavy metal?
I do, actually. I was a huge like Metallica and Megadeth fan in like 2007, 2008. Now I mostly listen to like metalcore. I listen to like Bring Me the Horizons, one of my favorite bands. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other bands right now, but I'm kind of blanking.
He's
Is
like,
that why
no.
your name is Steel?
He's like, no. What I'm talking about is like heavy metals clanging. Do you like a lot
Yeah.
of iron clashing into the chunks of steel, or are you more
love
of an aluminum
heavy
foil
titanium.
guy?
Yeah.
Heavy
I
metal.
like aluminum foil. personally.
Yeah, actually, so my wife and I, we've seen Wage War together, and also recently we saw, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember the name of the band, but I'm like blanking because of adrenaline.
Wait, so you actually go to these concerts and stuff?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, damn. Those are too loud for me. I can't go to those.
yeah. Oh, I wear like earplugs that are made to attenuate volume.
Oh.
That are, it's like I look like an old person, but I don't care. I can hear just fine, and I'm
That's
not.
smart, though.
Yeah, yeah. Gosh, why can't I remember the name? Like, it's one of my favorite bands. Yeah, yeah. I definitely listen to heavy metal. So,
My trick is to just constantly fry all of your senses so that when anything happens that's extreme, you're already partially paralyzed in those like I have all of my browsers set to bright white. I don't have dark mode on anything, and my headphones are always snapped the knob all the way off. So like any loud scenarios or too bright, I'm like, oh, look, I can barely see it, I can barely hear, so I'm fine.
I think
Yeah.
you're so old that you can't see.
Oh, it was Day to Remember. That's who my wife and
Day
I.
to
That was the
Remember.
last band that
Day
we
to
last saw.
Remember.
Gotcha.
I saw Bring Me the Horizon somewhat recently, like less than a year ago, with Fall Out Boy. They were great. They were great.
Yeah, I have yet to see them live. They're on my list though. So
Their lead singer is crazy.
yeah.
He did a really good job.
All right, next question from Lynx and Hamstring. They asked the same question, apparently. They want to know, Steel, how did you come up with the power set for your and lore for your characters?
For just Steel or for... Well, I guess I could answer both. So for Steel, when I was creating him as an RHG, I mean, it was kind of like I was getting into Fluid Anims and like Stone had just come back and it... Because like, I don't think people actually know, Stone, that there was like an RHG before your comeback. Like there's like characters like LF2 Master's a character that I don't think people know about, or like Creep, or like Sniper Z, Stone versus Tekken. Like there's a whole wealth of characters that existed that people don't even know to consider as RHG.
They were old in 2010. Like you know what I mean? Like people were like, whoa! People have been freaking about the reference in 2010 when you had mentioned some of them.
Yeah, like the timeline for things back then was that like if you had been animating for a year, you were an old school person. Or like 2007 was old school in 2010.
Yes.
And so like that's there was actually like a rep associated with like the year you had your account created. It was like, oh, are you 2007 or 2008? Like that was the thing for sure. But yeah, so when the new sets of RHG characters were coming out, there wasn't a lot of characters, and there wasn't a lot of like powers being used up, right? So the fact that I got in first and just was like, oh yeah, my guy's telekinetic and he's blue and there's nothing else specific about him.
Damn, you got first pick, Steve.
Yeah, like I got first pick.
Grandfathered in, ha ha ha.
Yeah, but at the same time though, I actually kind of regret that happened, because now if you look at other characters like Dude, for example, House's characters are in general are crazy, crazy cool. But just because now all of the generic ideas have been taken up, characters now are so awesome, like so cool that that like I'm even looking to make Steel less generic now, because it's like, wait, no, why is he blue? Oh, like, like
Why is he blue?
Hey, my stick figures are blue.
Yeah, it's like I think that, like we were talking about how when you're constrained, you become more creative.
Yes.
When you're constrained because so many ideas are created, you become House and you're cracked, or like also just like there's so much more like inspiration now, like, or like different materials.
There was nothing. There was literally nothing. You had to pull from some other source typically to like have a foundation, because there was no. It was the floor, Yeah. There was no other RHGs. There wasn't a list of 100 more popular ones to choose from, to start from,
Yeah, for sure. So it's just like, he's blue and I like telekinesis. Well, it was actually that like I felt like telekinesis would be easy to animate, and I liked doing blood, and I could make people be ripped apart if I could use telekinesis. So that was...
I could tell back then. I remember when I was seeing Steel for the first time, I was like, this guy likes object rotation and likes like hitting F6 and rotating objects and using like... I could tell that you liked doing that, because to me that was distinct in your animations. It's like, that I get it. That's why,
I didn't like using symbols. Like all the characters with swords, I didn't like doing that. I wanted to redraw the sword every frame.
Yep.
So like, my character can't have a sword because I don't know how to draw swords that well, and I don't want to draw them every frame. So it's like, that limited me as well. Also, on the Steel RHG wiki, there's like this backstory that I have like completely repressed out of my memory of writing, but it is the most cringe thing I've ever read in my life. But I definitely wrote it. So yeah.
Isn't that great seeing yourself 20 years ago? It's fun.
Yeah. I kind of actually think that as much as it's like a time capsule that's been lost, I'm glad that there's no forums from like 2008, because
I know.
I would have cringed into my grave, and I wouldn't have come back. Yeah, I would not have come back. I just
dude,
saying it. Yeah.
I talked so different back then. I talked like a little boy.
Yeah, dude. Like there were so many like :3 hee like.
Yeah.
Oh my, dude,
Talking like a
3 went so
dude, that
hard,
was
dude.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
man. You guys have no idea. When I was on Flipnote Hatena and Flipnote Pseudomemo, you could draw your comments.
Oh.
Entirely different energy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
More to regret.
it was like there was like so much like I don't even know how to say it, but it was like, like MySpace lingo in our speech that
dude.
just is so cringe now.
It's awful. And then, dude, I still have a photo that haunts me of like the Fluid Anim's crew page when I was like 15. I had long hair.
Yeah.
It's the only time in my life I had long hair, and it follows me everywhere.
Yeah.
Wait,
Can't get away from it.
do you remember when Shock was first released and everyone started talking like Shock?
Yes.
Yes. Oh my god.
That's so cringe. I can't.
Awful.
They're like,
Yeah.
Woosh,
So
right?
bad.
Woosh, right?
Yes. And
That's
then
kind of cool though, like to make an animation that has such an impact on the community that they start to talk
Yeah,
like
it is,
it.
man. Like, oh my god.
That's cool.
dude, low
people
key,
use
I
people's
think
elbow like a
Phil didn't
comma.
like that. Oh good.
No.
I would imagine not, but yeah.
Yeah. Like I think Phil, like my impression of Phil, because I was really good friends with him, but I think he was always frustrated that he wanted other people to be creative and to do their own thing, but everybody was always trying to do what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I think
Yep.
that frustrated him a lot.
Yeah, because he
think
tries something, he does something new every single time. He always is challenging himself, which is what people loved so much about what he was doing, because everything he was doing was impressive and outlandish. Because you're like, I can't even, like every part of this, my brain is just warped, and it's because he warped his brain to do it. So he was challenging and having a hard time, but getting through it and creating something unique. And at the end, he would show it, and then people were like, "I want to do that." Just the thought of being able to be complacent at a level of talent of like Shock 1 even is what people
Right.
wanted to like. That was their top of the mountain, and that was his floor. And so he was already stepping off of that and leaving, and people were like, "I just want to stay in that spot. Keep me.
Yeah.
I want to be right in that spot." So I get it.
Yeah, for sure. Like he had an animation called End. I think it's posted on YouTube somewhere. It's on his
5
DeviantArt.
minutes, yeah, 5 minutes. It's 60 stick-figure deaths in 5 minutes is what the YouTube people who stole it and ended up making it. That was the end of
Really?
that was the big release of or no, but I'm thinking of Buy, not End.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm thinking of the one. It's like a pink figure versus a green figure. It's called End, but he had made it and he had showed it to me a few times, like as he was working on it. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm
what
gonna
you're
finish
talking
this."
about.
And I'm like, "Dude, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, you have
I don't
to
think he
release
released
this."
it. I don't
He
think
did.
he did.
No,
Oh,
he did. He did because I told him to.
Oh, dude,
Yeah,
it is.
like-
I know what you're talking about. I remember him.
Hey,
I remember him showing
yeah.
that one of the few times he did.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
the original question was, how did you come up with your power set and lore?
Oh my god! All right, this is the 3-hour special though. Okay, all right, back to the question. So, so for the story for this project, for Bident specifically, I had been having some personal stuff. Like I actually lost both of my grandfathers this year, so
damn.
that was really hard for me personally. And so in the lore, in the story that I tell in this animation you'll see tomorrow, there's a lot of aspects about like Bident loses his grandfather and he inherits his workshop, and I don't really know how well I told the story, but at least for me, there's these elements of like your grandfather shows you something really cool and you're kind of inspired from it. There's like that theme in it, or like your grandfather's giving you something and it's like there's the memory of that and it's like meaningful to you because you have memories in there and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I feel like there's a lot of personal stuff in this animation, and like I kind of leaned into that to create these characters, and
I
and
think
then there's
great.
yeah, like it's interesting how I relate a lot more to Bident as a character this time around than Stilo as a character, and like there's like they argue and stuff, and it's kind of interesting how like they're two characters go together. But yeah, so anyways, that's enough that I'll say.
Okay.
No more of that question.
Ooh.
All right, we'll do one last one. I encourage everyone to keep it short. We're already about 2 hours.
Last question.
Yeah, last question from Kiteword asks, what is your guys' favorite animation tips Like tips that helped you out a lot once you started out. My big one is don't delete your animations. I think that's a huge one when you're starting out.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people, like, they try making something, they look at it expecting it to look really good, and then it looks like shit because it's your first animation. And they're like, I don't want to look at that anymore. I can do better. They delete it, they don't look at it again. But what you're removing is the opportunity for you to learn from yourself. Sure, you can cringe at the animation, whatever, but if you give yourself enough time to actually look at what you did and analyze and determine what you could try next time to be better, then you'll have something to go off of. It's more of a learning experience, but a lot of people just delete it. And I even did that myself, and that hindered my improvement for years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think another thing too, it's like a cousin to this, but it's like it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of experimenting to really figure out how to do something. Like I remember as I was going through my my archive of animations, I have them in a hard drive that's like really old that I was putting together to show you guys in the beginning of this podcast. Like there's about 10 animations that I had done that were kind of sketches of Assassin's Creed stuff before I actually ended up making an Assassin's Creed animation. Or there's like, I think there's like 15 different animations of me trying to figure out how to do backflips. Like, just, you know, like, I know that it's like when you get an animation, you want to be good, right? And like, it's hard because there's like a sufficient amount of being good at animation for it to be fun. And if you're not that good, it's actually not really that fun, right? Like it kind of sucks. It hurts you mentally. Like it can be discouraging. But I think that, you know, I don't think personally it takes that long to get to a point where you can make something, play it and go, wow, that was really cool. And once you can get to that loop, then you just keep going. It's like playing a video game at that point for me.
Yeah.
True.
So, but yeah, I mean, it takes a long time. Be patient with yourself. Like, give yourself grace to fail. And the more you practice, the more that you're going to be thinking about it, the more you're going to improve. Also, the more you're thinking about it, the more thoughtful questions you can ask people that are better than you so that they can help you. So, just if you like animating, you want to be good, I think just animate. And yeah.
My go-to, that's been my go-to for a long time, is if you have something you genuinely want to finish, don't show anyone until you're finished. Like with the actual end product. If you have something big you're working on, don't show it to people. Like carte blanche. You can show it to some people, but like you lose the like a lot of times I see a lot of incomplete animations because when you stopped and started showing it to a bunch of people, you kind of got out a lot of the steam and energy that was built behind it of not showing it to anyone. And then it becomes harder to complete the project for a lot of people. That's how I used to see a lot of incomplete, really impressive things that died on the table because of that.
Yeah, that seems huge. I think, yeah, for my animation, it's like, you know, I have 12 minutes of stuff that I haven't shown people. It's like, I mean, I have shown people a little bit. Like, I made the demo scene in May. I released that, but it didn't quite feel like I had let out all the steam yet because I was like, oh, wait, you guys don't know what's coming. Like, this is just the demo, right?
Exactly.
And, like, that demo scene's like a minute already, right? It's like, that's huge. But, yeah, I definitely agree.
Hyun.
Oh, okay. This is something that I struggled with a lot when I first started animating. Is you'll tend to tunnel vision when you're a new animator, like focusing on details or like the specific movement. Because I realized there's a lot of friends that I know that are starting animation, and the number one thing that I see them doing is kind of trying to get the movement like as smooth as possible, like making, I don't know, like 10 or 20 frames for them for like an animation of them standing up or something like simple like that. So I think the best tip is kind of try to rush your animations, like try to make your frames as fast as possible, and that way you won't kind of get stuck in all the details, because I think a lot of times when you kind of stick to one little movement and try to make it as smooth as possible, and then you end up playing it, it just ends up looking a bit too choppy or like too slow or something like that. So yeah, just try to be very loose with it and just try to kind of rush your frames as fast as you can, and generally the movements will kind of turn out better until you actually get used to it.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's two corollaries to that. Like one, I think is kind of related to ADHD a little bit, where I was reading about something where people with ADHD, and I think this is just kind of in general, but people with ADHD specifically have a hard time when they do things that don't have feedback immediately or feedback very quickly. So the faster you can close that loop of I did something and I'm getting feedback, because it's hard to know if you drew a frame right. So it's like if you're sitting there hyper focusing on a position of an arm and you're kind of new, you're hyper focusing on something that you don't even know what to focus on yet. And it's like just draw and it'll be fine. Or it'll be fine eventually. And getting to see how it is in context is way more important. Yeah,
that's why I tell a lot of people when they're first starting stick figure animation is to just animate the head first, just moving around as smooth as they can, because all they're focusing on is the circle, and that just makes things 100 times simpler. And once they get that general movement down, they can just add the other stuff, and it ends up looking like 100% better.
Yeah, for sure. Like the bouncing ball, right? Like
Yep.
That's an interesting one. I like that. All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and
Is that
wrap it
it?
up here. Yeah, that's it.
All right.
This is
Holy
officially our
balls.
longest episode yet.
Let's go. Well, thank you guys for having me, and thank you for also entertaining my long-winded answers and tangents. And yeah.
No, we love that stuff. So that's awesome. It's just
Thank you so much for joining us, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Uh,
The many
what
rants
else
we've
we have?
had.
I think now it is time for our number one most polished subject topic, which is the outro.
It's gotten better compared to episode
It's gotten
one.
better.
We're a
I'm
lot
still,
better.
I'm still working on it. I'm still workshopping it. But the most important thing is for those of you who are watching right now, and those of you who are in the future, hi future people, they're going to be watching this when it's a recording. Be sure to leave a comment, please. Even if we're not responding to all the comments, I can tell you with certainty I look at the comments all throughout the week, because I re-listen to the episode, and I want to know what you guys have to say in the episode. It makes a big, big difference when we are shaping our future episodes, and to see what you like and dislike. Also, I'd like to add that we love the fan art. The first thing we do when we're done here is we all giggle and chuckle, and then we go and check Twitter or X and see if anyone has created any fan art. We love those, so thank you guys so much for those. But next week, join us for episode 18 with none other than Hatena the man himself. It's going to be a tennis episode.
There he
Next
is.
week. Yeah! Woo! Next week. Yes. So thank you guys so much. And that is it. We are out of here.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Get
you
me
all for
down.
watching.
Get me down.
Bye.
Yeah, I can help you guys down.
Get me
bye.
down from the.
Oh, that would be appreciated. Still, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Love